Welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about a case study on one of my members named Rajiv. We made a super strong athletic comeback from post-op ACL to competitive soccer again. We did this in under 1.5 years, and here's how we did it. To give you some context, Rajiv was about a year in post-op ACL when we first connected. Now, we've known each other for time before this, but we really got connected into using this online approach at about 12 to 13 months post-op. So here's the context. He's actually not 35, he's actually closer to 40, 42, right? So this is just a visual that I made for Instagram. So basically just keep that in mind. He's somebody who plays or loves to play competitive soccer, been playing all his life, and he's playing with pretty much 25-year-olds, 26-year-olds, and he's much older than them, obviously. So for him to come back to this level was a pretty amazing feat. So here's what happened. Again, like I said, we connected at about 1 year post-op, right? About a year rehab, and he still felt like he was weak and he wasn't having confidence, especially with running, let alone any soccer movements. And so he actually was about to retire. He told me he was basically ready to give up. And so I said, hold on, let's figure this out. Let's see if we can make that strong comeback for you. Let's see if we can make this happen, essentially. So what we did was we connected at 13 months post-op, and we started the plan with building strength, stability. So we did a lot of things like single leg strength, stability. So a lot of strengthening exercises that you guys are already familiar with. Maybe things like Bulgarian split squats, side lunges, side squats, a lot of calf raises, a lot of glute strengthening as well, a lot of core, a lot of upper body. So we just started with the basics, right? Just getting the stability and control for him. So far, so good. Everything was going well. And within 6 weeks, he was actually back to training with his team officially again. This is supposed to be a video of him getting a cross pass from his teammate, and he was able to score the goal. But essentially, very fast, like within 6 weeks, he had no pain and he was training with his team again. And things were looking really good, and we were all happy with this, obviously. Until we hit a pretty major roadblock. And so this is supposed to be a video that won't play, but essentially he's showing me a lunge, reverse lunge, where he's lunging back and he's having some pain on the outside of his knee. And this constantly happened over and over again. You see some of the comments that he made in our program was he didn't feel so great during some of the runs, so he cut it short, and he felt a 4 out of 10 pain, like a pinch, at that angle. So the angle that he was referring to was pretty much when he was, imagine if his head's here, his upper body's here, his leg is kind of like that. So that kind of 90-degree angle, he had a pinch, right? So if this is his other leg like that, and anytime he did that kind of angle in a split stance position, so like a 90-degree angle, he would feel a pinch. And this would only happen at that angle. And so we had to figure this out essentially because it was stopping him from playing soccer and participating in his practices. And it took a while. We tried different things. We had to scale back, actually. We had to pull back. So we had to actually pull back from soccer training, right? And that's not easy to do when you get introduced to a team, your team again, and they're expecting you to essentially play very soon. And the fact that we had to pull back and we had to really assess what's going on. And so we actually, again, these are showing like some of the pain exercises that he had with some pogo hops, and he had that recurring feeling. We did the 2-to-1 squat jumps, and he was having that pain with landing. And so he was trying to play with his son, and it was horrible, and so it was just a bad time. And so what we did was we reassessed, and that's his finger there, actually trying to point to where the pain is. And he actually got an MRI done with his surgeon, and he was concerned, and he pushed for an MRI, and he got one, which came back clear, negative, which was good. But there were some concerns for sure, and he was ready to pretty much like give up again. And so what we did was we targeted beyond just the basics. We've targeted beyond just the most common things that most PTs or most physios would do is quad strength, obviously super important, but in this case, we made sure that we analyzed his specific situation. And for him, he had a hamstring graft, which if some of you are not familiar, they take a piece of the tendon, one or two, usually one, the semitendinosus tendon, and they take it out of that hamstring, and they use that as the ACL graft. And so he had that, and we also analyzed his movement pattern. So the way he moved, very much knee dominant, meaning he overused a lot of his knee forces. So he's very knee dominant. He had a hard time using his hips and his hamstrings in a lot of exercises. And soccer is one of those sports where multi-directional, obviously we move in different directions, but it's also a very high deceleration and deceleration sport. Meaning, the knee is often not enough. The knee is often not enough to be the primary mover. So we need the hamstrings, we need the glutes, we need the calves super strong and resilient to be able to absorb all the acceleration and deceleration. So what we did was we actually focused a little bit more on the hamstring portion, because he had the hamstring graft, but also with the nature of the soccer sport itself, it was very much very high deceleration and deceleration. So we actually strengthened a lot more on hamstrings that next month, and we tracked his progress. As you can see here, we were able to track it in the program, in the app that we have. We were able to see strength increasing, going up. And so we focused on hamstring focus, not only just machines, but we did eccentric work. So eccentric is essentially strengthening in length, strength in length. So what that means is when the hamstring is lengthened, which usually is in a straight leg position, that's when we strengthen the hamstrings, right? Because those are the primary movers, the primary mechanisms for soccer, is being able to kick at high forces, being able to sprint at high forces. We use a ton of our hamstrings. So we focus a lot more on hamstrings that next month. Obviously, we still focus on the other things like quad. But from then, we built explosive strength, so a little bit more explosive type movements. So we went from basically static strength, which is going to be kind of like your basic machine work, isolated static strength. And we went into what we call explosive strength. So these are things that are a bit more fast-paced, less repetitions, higher intensity. So these are kind of the progressions that we want to take from static to explosive. And then we added some power. So here he's supposed to do some broad jumps, which again is going to be that explosiveness that we built. And it took 2 months of rebuilding, but we ended up getting there. We started ramping up his training again on the pitch, and he was able to do 90 minutes with no pain. He did 60 minutes 8v8, and he's starting to feel very natural and more confident with the movements. And eventually he was back on the pitch, pain-free, and everything was good at that point. So this is all very much like an understatement of how everything actually went. It was very much more back and forth. It was frustrating at times. It was challenging, and the communication was really important between us, because we needed to really understand what was the next part of it, right? It was just understanding his frustrations, but also how do we navigate that to keep going. And this is the craziest part. About literally 2 weeks after he started training, and this was his first or second game back officially, maybe his second game, he actually scored a goal. And there is a video on this on my Instagram page. I will maybe link this video in the description below so you can enjoy and witness it. But there is a nice goal of him making that first goal since ACL surgery. And again, this is a competitive match. This is not just random pickup. This is a competitive match. Scored his first goal since ACL surgery. And so really all the stories to say, just celebration there. He struggled with knee pain and weakness for multiple years, and he honestly made an incredible comeback when he thought he couldn't, right? And that's the story that I want to share today, is because every ACL journey is different. It is challenging. It is non-linear. What basically that means is not straightforward. What you see or hear on other people's stories, like if you see on social media, on Reddit, or on community boards, truly everyone's journey is different. What's important is you have a plan, you have some sort of guidance as to what to do next, because I believe that without the guidance and the tailored approach that we did for Rajiv, it would have been hard for him to get back on the field pain-free. And there's always setbacks. There's usually setbacks in every ACL rehab that I see. So if you're going through it, don't give up. Don't give up. Try your best to really figure out what is causing you this pain or the setback, right? If you need to speak to a professional, please do so. Of course, feel free to DM or message me as well, right? I have a lot of resources on this, or if you are interested in, of course, talking about one-on-one coaching, that's something that I offer as well. All in all, if you're going through ACL rehab, don't give up, keep going. It is possible, even for someone who is over 40 years old and trying to come back to competitive soccer. It is all possible, guys. Keep going, don't give up, and I'll see you in the next one.